Welcome to Cognitive Vigilance Podcast. I am here with Rin, Kyle, and Ben, and we are here to talk about the lovely indictment, RussiaGate 2.0 question mark. Rin has no fucking idea about any of this.
Shit was happening.
He is so not connected to the internet, which I mean is a beautiful thing. It's one of the things. It's one of the things I love about him. Kyle, you wanna continue your spiel you were giving before we went live?
So basically what's going on, the reason why I care so much about this is because typically like most political stuff, oh, okay. I guess he decided my summary wasn't good enough. Yeah, we'll
what the fuck?
maybe that's the fucking Russians taking him out, man.
Oh God. Oh, is that what's happening?
Yeah.
Oh, there he is. Bro. Get your shit together.
I don't know what happened. It just kicked me out. That was fucking weird.
Okay.
Well, it must have been the Russians. So the main reason why I want to talk about this and why I did a whole show on this is because really the way that our government kind of works is that I do think they use psychological warfare, and generally what they like to do is build consensus and manufacture consent for the next war, or to basically grease the skids for think tanks, the military industrial complex, or people, nefarious actors who make money off of killing people essentially. So why does that matter when it comes to RussiaGate 2.0? Well, obviously, as we know, we've been fighting a war, so to speak. We've been funding a war in Ukraine for the last 2 years, right? We've sent Ukraine probably a little over $200 billion at this point. So
do you not support the Russian or the support of the Ukrainian war effort?
I support the Ukrainian people, but I do not support sending money over there.
Because that's an interesting aspect that we don't have to talk about. But
well, I wanted Kyle to just explain the indictment. He's going in the weeds right now.
Okay. So basically, what had happened is that Russia Today is a pretty big news network, and they've hired a lot of Americans, right? So there were two people, one named it was like Kalishnikov or something like that, and then the other person, they call her for shorthand Lena because I can't pronounce her name in full because it's these weird fucking Russian names. I just can't. I don't know. I'm too stupid. So basically they made a company called US Company 1, which is ran by Russia Today, and they host Tenet Media, which is a pretty big media company here in the States, right? So Tenet Media hosts people like Tim Pool with the Culture War podcast. They host Benny Johnson, who I think is a total douchebag. Lauren Chen
is the one that runs it. Lauren Sutherland is one of her people.
Lauren Sutherland, yeah, but these people are all they've done content for Tenet Media, and they're all kind of under this umbrella. So yeah,
Dave Rubin.
Dave Rubin, Lauren Southern.
Should I know who any of these people are?
They're more conservative leaning commentators. So typically the slam has been over the last couple of years that, you're promoting pro-Russian propaganda whenever you speak out against the Ukrainian war. So now what had happened is allegedly there was $10 million distributed from, I think the total amount actually was 9.7 million, but round up to 10 million, whatever. $9.7 million was given to Tenet Media, and some of the charges, they spent $338,000 on what the transaction said was for an iPhone that had 512 gigabytes on it, right? So there's some funky stuff in that regards if you're buying onto that narrative that they're saying right now. And what they're claiming, Justice Merrick Garland is claiming that they violated the FAR Act, which is the Foreign Agents Registry Act.
So accepting money from foreign powers.
Correct, because they didn't register as foreign agents. There is one country in the world that doesn't have to register under that, and I'll leave that to you guys to decide what that is. Or to guess what
it's gonna be Israel, isn't it?
Exactly, it's Israel.
I knew you were gonna say that.
So
I actually don't know. So
well, no, that is the only.
Is that true?
Yes,
that's crazy.
Yeah. So, and well, we can get to the Kennedy assassination with that. But anyway, sticking to the main point, Tenet Media had basically received $10 million from RT under a company that was called US Company 1, right? And so now the allegation is because US Company 1 and Lena and Kalishnikov, or whatever the fuck his name was, they didn't register under the FAR Act. They're going to be indicted. They're considered at large right now. because they could face, I think it's like 5 years in prison for the money, and then for embezzlement, it's like, or not embezzlement, I forget what the exact charge is, but they could face up to 20, money laundering, that's it. They could face up to 20 years in prison. So basically, the whole situation is that they're claiming that US Company One, which is sort of a cutout for Russia Today, had paid Tenet Media $10 million for Lauren Chen, Dave Rubin, Benny Johnson, all these conservative, Lauren Southern, a lot of these more right-leaning conservative influencers to peddle what they call pro-Russian propaganda. And there are a lot of right-wing commentators saying that this is proof of RussiaGate, which kind of surprised the fuck out of me. But
what surprised you, that other conservative pundits are saying that? Or
yes.
Okay.
So basically, we obviously go back. The original RussiaGate was that Trump was a Putin puppet, right? Which was just totally bogus. But now
I thought I thought it was more so that the Russians were actually putting in disinformation via social media.
So that's basically.
But I don't know if I think, because that doesn't mean that Trump was aware of that.
Right.
So I think people kind of misunderstand what that means. Like, I don't think that anyone with a brain thinks that Trump was like an actual Russian asset. The whole point was that the Russians were trying to put information out there to either affect the election or whatever the fuck else they wanted to do, right? I am not going to say that I don't think that Russia does that. I don't know about elections, but I definitely think that they try to disperse information to cause chaos within our country.
Well, a lot of the claims were centered around that Trump allegedly was a Russian.
Yeah, the PK's blackmail, all that stuff, right?
Yeah, he was in works with the Russians to overthrow the American government, which is just absolutely ridiculous.
But I don't think it's a ridiculous claim to say that Russia had a vested interest in certain outcomes in the election and would put resources into that. It's like, so that there's a different line.
Okay, I'll give you pushback on this narrative, because when you look at Trump in effect, is that he sanctioned Russia. He had bragged about how tough he was on Russia. So, I mean, in effect, you could say that, okay, maybe they had a vested interest in a certain outcome, but regardless of the fact.
Well, their assumption is that their goal was somebody who would be weak on Russia. But if their goal was somebody who would be a divisive leader for the country, then that was a win.
Yeah, or maybe no one knows what their fucking goal was. Yeah, like, we just know that they were doing it. Like, we don't know. And people were basically like put their own fucking agendas into what they think their goal is.
Yeah, so basically what was actually found is that there were some like Russian troll farms on Facebook trying to sell ads or harass people. Like, it was nothing that serious. But so basically now what the allegations is that now Tim Pool, Lauren Chen, and all these conservative influencers are peddling pro-Russian propaganda, which is ridiculous on its face. But once again, we're near an election season.
So you don't believe the indictment at all that we're going to talk about?
I don't believe that they were paid to peddle Russian propaganda. Do I believe they were paid?
Why do you think that Russia was paying them? What do you think the point was, Kyle?
Yeah, what's the other?
And why would they funnel it through
$400,000 a month? Why? Just what's the reason? I'm just curious. I don't think.
Wait. Do you believe?
I don't know.
Do you believe the money came from the Russian government or just Russian individuals?
It's a Russian Today, which is a government-funded agency.
I'll say that I believe it.
Are you getting money from Russia?
No. Listen, I will not tell you if I'm receiving money from Russia, but there will be signs.
All right, guys, listen, playing the game of Among Us, and Kyle is sus.
Listen, that I would not have that like $500 amp, and then like that one right there. That one was like $850. Believe me, I would have a lot nicer stuff. If anything, people are going to accuse me of being paid by China, but no, I wish I was paid by them, but I'm not. So.
Russia ran out of money and they're only giving you like $30 now.
Yeah. So like Russia Today used to employ Abby Martin, who was actually a pretty big dissident when it came to like Russia. But I mean, she's always remained steadfast in her position of being anti-war. Like Russia Today is a little bit more like socially conservative. So like when they look at US politics, they typically do favor a little bit more right-wing people. But it's not like people get this idea in their mind whenever they hear China or Russia. They think that like, okay, well, if this company's associated or based out of Russia, they automatically assume, okay, well, they're controlled by the government, which may have some truth, but it's not like a monolith like people think it is.
But Russia Today is funded by the Russian government. This isn't like
Right, but at the same time, it's not like there's uniform consensus of like you cannot criticize.
Russia doesn't
Russian
put a lot of
government.
money into places outside of like the energy sector, okay? And like they like it's very hard for me to like think that you
Wait, Kyle. Is
so
it,
confused.
lay down.
is it Kyle? Is it possible that they were on the take?
What do you mean?
Like so?
Brandy, hold on, Brandy. Finish what you were saying because there was something that you were kind of getting at. I could tell you're stressed out.
Well, so because I'm not gonna say that I think Lauren Chen was aware of this because I've read the entire indictment, like from top to bottom, and
all fucking
it
30
seems,
pages.
and it seems as though she could have. I don't think there's anything definite to say that she was 100% aware of the fake person. There's some language that makes it seem like it's possible, but I definitely think she did not do her fucking due diligence. Like, these people didn't do their due diligence to figure out where this money was coming from. And in my opinion, that's just fucking being an idiot. So, and the thing is that taking money from random people and they're offering you so much money. This is like a ridiculous amount of money. And they are saying for you to share certain things. Like, one of the things was the
shooting. They had the shooting.
And the Tucker Carlson in the grocery store in Russia, which I'm going to show that video too because I love that. It
was a little ridiculous.
Gets me. Like, so
they just gotta call the CIA. I don't understand why people wouldn't.
If you read the indictment, it's definitely 100% apparent that these people, the Russians, were trying to get certain information put into the collective consciousness of people in the United States for whatever agendas, and I'm not even going to assume what their agendas are, okay? And I'm also not going to assume that Lauren Chen was aware of it. But the whole fact is that Lauren Chen did not do her fucking due diligence to figure out where this money was coming from, and neither did those commentators. Some of them tried to, like, they were like, could I get a little more information, and they sent like a shoddy PDF.
Like, if they didn't know that this was like sketchy, why would she be like trying to funnel the money through a fake person named Edward?
Well, no, because she didn't. I don't know if it's completely apparent that she was aware that that person was fake.
Well, okay, so,
because
like,
she was asking them. She was asking the because it's like persona 1, persona at like 2 people, which. She was asking them, like, the commentators want more information on the guy, his name, this fake person they made up, which was Mr. Gregorian. Edward Gregorian. Also, like, if you're going to come up with a fake name, can you come up with a better fake name? Like, this like shit sounds fake.
The two people who own the company, I want to make sure I got this right. I got the announcement for the DOJ here. I want to read the name.
Are you talking about the Russians?
Yeah, the two. Okay, yeah, there we go. An indictment charging Russian nationals Konstantin Kalashnikov, 31, also known as Kostya, and Elena, I'm not even going to try to pronounce her last name because it's so fucked up looking, also known as Lena, are charged with conspiracy to violate the FAR Act and conspiracy to commit money laundering. Was unsealed today in the Southern District of New York. Kalashnikov and Lena were at large. So those were the two people who were largely in charge of like kind of moving this shit around when it came to US Company 1, which was the funder of Tenet Media.
Yes.
If they were there to promote Russian propaganda, I'm going to be honest, I don't think they did a very good fucking job.
I don't think that was the entirety of the goal. I don't at all. I think that the goal was for cultural division, to push more cultural division, which and this is such a coincidence that this came out because I've been reading Love Letter to America by Yuri Bezmenov, and it just like kind of ties into that. Like, I think that this is stuff that's been happening.
Wasn't Yuri Bezmenov like CIA or something like that? I know
he was a defector, and he got helped by the CIA to leave and go to Canada. So people are like, he didn't hate the CIA because they obviously helped him in a lot of ways when he was trying to leave Russia. So people can make
being
whatever.
Skeptical about all this is cool, and I think people should be skeptical about it. But like, if we're being honest, there hasn't been a period of time since media got corporatized way back, like really as early as the 1940s, that they haven't been trying to influence other countries' elections
Yeah,
and
we
giving
do
them
it.
fake
Why do
propaganda.
we think
Yeah.
other
Like,
people?
Well,
this
that's
happened
so-
with World War II.
So
Like,
that's kind of my whole point is like, so, okay, I believe everything. I have an understanding of the indictment. And I actually think, you know, if you're taking money from foreign agents and you get caught doing it, if you're doing it fucking sloppily and poorly, that's how it goes. Like, you know, I don't begrudge that. But what I'm curious about, and here, what I really want to tie it all into is what is the difference between this and all the other fucking media manipulation, the political, like the domestic people who we know are doing it, right? The Rupert Murdochs, the fucking, like, the people who are running these ridiculous, like, you know, propaganda.
Well, yeah, everybody does this.
I mean, Lord
all
Shin is not
media does
Murdoch
this.
either.
No,
Yeah,
I understand that.
yeah.
But so what I'm trying to understand is, like, why, like, I would be disappointed if, you know, the nation states that viewed America as their enemy weren't doing this shit, right? Like, we have fucking done this all over the world, right? So, like, it's fair game. I'm like, what is the, like, oh, Russia was doing a thing that we would absolutely expect Russia to do, and
I'm more so judging the people
Americans
involved, the Americans. Yeah. I'm more so judging someone like Lauren Chen. One, and the main thing is like not doing your due diligence. And if you're getting offered this amount of money, you should at least be somewhat skeptical and like look into it. And they said that they did actually look.
Nobody gives
they were like Googling because they like confiscated all of their like stuff, you know, their servers, whatever. And like they found like they were Googling like this Edward Gregarian guy, and they saw them Google. They were like, yeah, we're not finding this person. And so like,
he's off the grid.
Yeah, well, they clearly, I don't know if they eventually realized this person was fake and just didn't care, but they definitely had suspicions and just ignored them. It was very apparent that they were something's off, but we're just gonna ignore it because this is a lot of money, so like YOLO. And then eventually they say like that they're going to be hiring a Russian firm, and they're like, yeah, of course, would love to work with a Russian firm.
So there's a saying that it's very hard to get a man to believe something when his entire, you know, salary depends on him not believing it. So, I mean, if someone's offering you that kind of cash, you're going to ask a question or two. And if the check's clear, eventually most people aren't going to fucking bother.
All right.
To your point, I think that's kind of the situation that you're going for. But as far as them going for, you know, let's say Russian agents trying to cause division in the U.S., I don't think they have to. I mean, I think our political system as it is designed to do this right now. That's why Donald Trump was made president in 2016, is because they know he's a fucking lightning rod for the left, and for the right, he's a perfect sedative. He could do whatever he wants to trample on the fucking right wing's freedoms, and they won't say a word. But the left wing, their activators could be all the donations of the Southern Poverty Law Center. All these left wing organizations went sky high, and the right wingers didn't bitch at all. But as soon as Biden gets in, they're ready to fucking go to war. But Trump gets in, guess what? They're nice, patient, and quiet when he does all the same things that all the Democrats do. And that's why I think Trump is the perfect deep state asset when it comes to everything that's going on now. Because once again, lightning rod for the left, sedative for the right. All the boomer right wingers are complacent.
Nice use of the word activated. I have a PSA. Can I give a PSA for anybody who wants to do this money thing? If somebody offers you $100,000 a month, so here's how you cover your ass.
No, $400,000 a month, $100,000 a video,
$100,000 a video or less. Like if somebody starts like
$30,000 worth that.
Listen, so if you're getting offers of $10,000 a month or more, you know, fucking, here's how you do it. There's a phone number on CIA.gov. You just call it. You go, hey, some fucking shady fuckers are giving me money to do some fucking shady shit. I'm going to do it. Do you guys want to like follow along and see what's going on? And now you are a CIA asset and and you get to keep all the money. Like, I don't understand. They love that shit. They're like, yeah, we'll fucking...
Is that what you're doing? I'm like, what the fuck? Absurd. Am I just surrounded by feds right
now? so I haven't done it yet, but it is a plan. I know a guy. Did I never tell you I went to a CIA recruitment meeting when I was at Harvard?
Probably.
Oh man, you know what they say? You never leave the CIA.
Well, I didn't I didn't join. No,
that sounds exactly what a CIA agent would say.
Ironically, they don't pay very well, and I am very selfish. But
they don't pay as good as the Russians, that's for sure.
You definitely sound like a CIA agent right now.
I did interview with an FBI guy because a friend of mine got to work on the missile defense system. And I didn't know what the interview was for. Like somebody was like, "Oh, hey, you're a character reference for this person," and we're shooting the shit. And I was like, "I'm like, no, he's fucking morally uncorruptible." We kept trying to get him to do horrible shit, and he wouldn't. And I was then like, we would do fucking drugs and all these things, and he was like, "No, I'm good." And then he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm with the FBI. You should maybe shut up about that."
But like, okay, I always say the corporate media is the enemy of the people, and this is kind of like a decentralized media system. It's not really like the Blaze is kind of alternative media, but it's really corporatized now. So
Glenn Beck is not alternative. I'm so sick of people saying that things are alternative media. None of this is alternative.
It's mainstream. It's mainstream. Mainstream alternative media.
Yeah,
I'm saying mainstream. They're mainstream alternative. So is Tim Pool. So is Joe Rogan. There's nothing alternative about this at this point, right? But
what is your example of alternative media that actually counts?
This
I would well,
but
well,
my point in bringing this up is that
let finish.
I think this is like a double-edged sword. So decentralizing the media's power, which I'm largely in favor of. I don't think the media should be centralized at all. Is that you need to have a free market checks and balances, basically. And you need to be able to figure out who's giving you information that comes from a reliable source and who's not. So and this is impossible to do, right? Because you have the government paying Facebook to be fact checkers. You have Elon Musk, who's extremely biased in his views, who has
he works with the CIA as well.
Yeah, we have no idea where
who has
all these people
notes
compromised
on Twitter, which are very skewed in one direction because they're basically you can just upvote things as fact.
Democratization of truth.
It's kind of this is kind of the bad side of decentralized media, but this is just it's also kind of what we want, right?
Well, this is why we have to hold the actual creators accountable. You can and even Tim Pool and all of these people that are like, I didn't know, I had no idea, I'm a victim in all of this. No, bitch, you're not. Why didn't you fucking look into it?
You're never going on Timcast, by the way.
Oh, I already know. I'm already fucking blocked by fucking Cassandra Horseface. She can go fuck herself.
How would you propose holding the creators accountable?
No, well, so this is obviously what the what we're doing right now is talking shit about them.
No, we don't have any power to hold anybody accountable.
I know, but I think that. So listen.
Do you think that there should be some sort of organization of people who have the power to hold?
No, that's not really what I mean. More so that I think there should just be things that we hold.
You want a cultural fix?
People. It's a cultural fix, yeah. Where it's for example, one thing, transparency. I know, right? Ideally,
I mean, if ever there was a time for a regulatory body,
barbecue whiskey's down.
No, I don't think that. I don't think that
putting teeth on so if any time a fucking a journalist lies and has a certain amount of threshold, it's hey, you're now a part of the journalist guild. And
the company should fire them.
Yeah, well, and
or maybe
if you consistently be shown to be a dishonest actor, then eventually people will stop listening to you, or people will expose you, which is what should happen.
Well, I don't think that. I think that people are getting to a certain point of
they're so traveled.
Fame, where
there have been studies done on this where basically they've told Republicans, Democrats things that would go against their narrative about their own candidate, and generally what people do is dig their heels in. But you're not going to change that. So really, what you got to kind of do is weigh out the riffraff and find the people who are willing to be objective and change their mind. I would like to believe all of us on this panel are that way. I mean, I was just talking to Rob last night about this. I've changed my mind on plenty of shit, and I'm sure you guys have too.
Yeah, I love.
You got to kind of let people. You got to let people fucking burn. And sometimes is what it is.
But there's a thing called, algorithmic bias, which is super evident on Twitter, right? Where you have this amplification of echo chambers, and then you also favor virality over accuracy. And
exactly.
you know what I mean?
Narrative over truth.
Oh,
Right.
100%. Or even, it's not even narrative over truth, it's engagement over truth.
Exactly.
People literally want engagement, and they will get engagement. And I'm starting to get like, I see even people do it with like, even just like joke trolls, you know, like they'll just write a troll post. And like, it's like, okay, this is funny, but it's like their entire Twitter becomes that. And then I just start to be like, oh, this is such a low hanging fruit. Like, you're literally lying for engagement. And the whole point is just like to create, usually to troll people, to get people angry. Like, the whole point of the post is just to make people mad.
And this is what frustrates me with a lot of the new, like, younger, more right-leaning libertarian people. As much as like they're my people, I'm right there with you. Shouting the hard R and saying faggot and all the words that progressives can't fucking stand on Twitter isn't really doing anything other than just making some entertainment. Like, look, I love dumpster fires. I've gone viral on Twitter how many fucking times just for making fun of Tim Pool. I'll do it again. I fucked with Laura Loomer and got her to respond to me by calling her, you know, nightmare material. It's fucking hilarious. But like, there's so many people that think that like, oh, we're winning the culture war because we pissed off progressives because we dropped a hard R on Twitter. I'm like, I get it, but you're not really doing anything. It's funny, but like, what do you want to do? Me? I'd much rather people have a more objective sense of reality and have the truth, right? Rather than just peddling bullshit. Like, that's why I can't stand the people who want to be, when people start playing politics, and you see this right now, because once again, it's election season. We're not going to criticize Trump right now because it's a bad time to criticize Trump. No, fuck that. You criticize every motherfucker up there, what they're bad on, and you give them props when they're good. But if they're bad, you fucking call it out. You don't just omit.
So you want journalistic integrity?
Yes, but the problem is people like Tim Pool don't have that. Tim Pool lies by omission out of his fucking ass. He gets called on it, and he fucking never goes back to it. So I mean, I've theorized it. I don't fucking know. I think he's probably paid by the Trump campaign because the Trump campaign pays Laura.
No, he's paid by the Russians. We already know that now. No.
Yeah, well, he's probably paid by both. Fuck it. Why not?
Probably paid by
your bag, bro. But just be honest. Look, my problem is you no longer can claim to be an objective journalist when you're a biased fucking probably paid hack. If you're paid by the Russians and paid by the Trump campaign, hey, man, I'm biased. I love Trump. I get a concussion from his penis every single time I see him. That's okay.
How would
this
you
is
feel
my
about,
bias, and this is that.
How would you feel about like tax transparency on journalists?
Elaborate. I'm sorry. I'm
a big fan. Like, so like they make presidents, or they used to, reveal their tax returns.
Sure. Yeah.
Journalists. Who am I paid by? Oh, look, I get money from fucking BBC America. I get 10
I think that it should be the completely like the norm for there to be transparency on who you're paid by, like who is funding you.
If you have a public opinion that sways, but not just be honest, prove it, back it up with paper.
Why?
Yeah,
why, Ben?
Why do I think so?
What did you?
I'm sorry. I'm not in favor of creating any kind of a law that regards like.
I wouldn't go down the law
make it a standard that people just do it.
Yeah,
sure. But like, what is that like?
And judge people for not doing it.
Yeah.
Exactly why I fucking dunk on Tim Pool so fucking hard is because once again he lies by omission consistently. He's been corrected on stuff to his face. And then still fucking goes on to lie about it. So you know what? I gotta assume one thing or the other, and I assume he's a dishonest actor paid by the fucking RNC.
Already laws in place for say nonprofits to disclose who their donors are. Like if maybe they registered as nonprofits, then they won't be able to keep anything. But I mean, you know, like all their donors would be coming from one place. You could see who donates to them. I mean, otherwise, like you're talking like without the government, like you're literally the only way to hold people accountable is through market pressure, creating more alternative media competition, promoting like media literacy, and you know, like I don't know, like just I guess promoting. I think more so promoting the competition and like putting social pressure on from social media and other stuff. That's pretty much how you'd keep things accountable. But just in the same way, like last time I was on, I think we talked about the Jack Black situation, how he was like, you know, getting canceled over that, right?
By the market.
Well, how do you beat getting canceled? It's by having more influence. So
Well,
people
but that's
with
the
all that
problem is
influence
that
Ben, I got to
aren't
follow
going to
up.
be able to be held accountable in the same way that you and I are. Obviously,
Yeah. Well,
they have
okay,
a
so
fan
like
base.
when we talk about more red pill stuff and kind of like how some guys overdose on the red pill, right? As in like fuck all women, I don't want to date anybody. You got to accept some people are just going to fucking go down that path and that's it. So like when it comes to stuff like this, it kind of is upon us if we're donating to a profit charity, nonprofit charity, then it is kind of upon us to say, hey, what are you doing with my money? Like we have to investigate and make sure that what we're doing is going to the cause that we want. So I did 2 breast cancer charities, right? The first one I donated the money. I don't know what exactly happened. They told me that it paid the woman's rent who couldn't afford it at the time. I'm thankful. Second year, I went directly to the person. We had a recipient in mind, gave her a little over $3,000. It took care of her premiums, all this stuff. It was beautiful. Absolutely loved it. Shit like that, where you see where your money's going. I like that. But like when you have nonprofits where it's a little bit vague, you don't know exactly where it's going. Like when you go to the cash register at fucking PetSmart and they say you want to donate $1 or something like that, and then you find out, oh, like 80% of this goes into like the fucking owner's pockets, and then
I mean, 90% goes to usually operational costs.
Nonprofits are supposed to have all of that disclosed on the internet. Like you should be
Once
able
again,
to. You can
looks into
see.
that.
I know. Well, you can though.
You should definitely do your research on charitable organizations. A lot of the ones that are good at advertising,
and that's
are
what I mean.
95%.
But I think that
logistics.
But if we do this for nonprofits and we do this for politicians, where you can go online and see who's giving them money,
we don't do it for politicians.
Do you guys?
No,
like,
we do.
remember
Like, we do.
Do.
We do it for politicians, but like obviously people can do like shell companies and shit, and like
we try to.
where it's like or they like have start a pack, and you're like
or
not
Edward
really sure what that
Gregorio.
means. Like no, but this is what I'm saying is like obviously there's ways people try to like get around that situation, but like we're supposed to. Politicians are supposed to disclose where all their donations are coming from, and that's supposed to be public information which you can look up on the internet.
It's never gonna
How come we
happen.
don't have do we not have this for media outlets? Like, is that not a thing? Do we have this? I don't even know.
I mean, it's great to want.
Why
but
not?
It's never gonna happen.
No, but why not? Like, because you like what Ben said. He's like, well, I don't want a new law. Well, fine. Like in the world that we live in right now, where there is a government and it is not anarchy, and we have politicians that are already doing this, and why can't media companies just disclose who's funding them as well?
I mean, I don't want. I mean, I'm not gonna like tell everybody what company I work for on the internet. Like,
what do you mean?
I'm saying, like, I don't want people to know who writes my checks and puts money in my bank account every
Who's
week.
giving
Even
you
if
money?
it is my work, the people I
No,
work for.
like, are you talking about like your day job? That's not giving money to your media
But I
account.
also like
Donate
there's a
direct
sense of
donations.
privacy.
We're talking about direct donations and funding and sponsorships.
I know, but like, I don't think you have a fiscal responsibility to tell people where your money comes from. I don't think so, because then you have.
So Ben, I agree with that as a regular like citizen, as a regular individual.
Yeah,
I think
I'm gonna agree with
if you have stepped onto a platform and you are now espousing an opinion, or you're claiming to be informing others of situations.
All right, maybe we disagree.
Well, so what do you think? To me, if you are in the public, go ahead, Kyle. I want to hear.
So if you're in the public, as in like, let's say a politician or something like that, then absolutely we should know what's influencing you to make sure that we know kind of what's going on behind the scenes, right? But when it comes to like what we're doing here, who gives a fuck?
I mean, nobody's funding us, it's fine.
Yeah.
We're poor.
But I think that's valid, though, right? Like, so to me, there should be a threshold where you're like, hey, this, like, because what we would then be is amateurs.
But then the problem is who defines that? What is a threshold where you can start to say, okay, well, you're at, let's say, 100,000 subscribers at 99,999, you're not there. But as soon as you cross that threshold over to like. It's so arbitrary. You can't really figure out how to like. I don't think it's a good accuracy.
I think to bring it full circle, Lauren Chen was working for Blaze, Blaze Media. Blaze Media, if you are independent contractor for them,
immediately,
they should have you should be able to disclose who's paying. Like if you're a contractor for Blaze Media, Like, sure, maybe they'll have a policy. If you want to work for us, you have to disclose where your money comes from. That's a company policy. That's a privatized way to handle the problem.
Well,
And
couldn't YouTube do that?
yes, they could. And
then
here's the
everyone would
thing, is
cry and be like,
Blaze Media
no.
handled the problem because she got fired. Like, that's, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's like putting it in the hands of the people who are like, Blaze Media. Maybe that's more their responsibility if they're promoting their content and she's a contractor for them. Like, maybe they can have a policy like, hey, if you want to work for us, you have to disclose where all your money comes from. And if something comes up that's shady, like, you're fired.
Well, my problem right now is that I compared this when I was doing the show and reading through the indictment, is that the indictment is, and they even say this in the Department of Justice, this is allegations, right? And I'm not saying one way or the other, like, chances are this is probably legit, but like, they're allegations. But we all know kind of how this goes. Like, as soon as you make those allegations, you're fucked. It's not innocent until proven guilty. It's guilty until proven innocent. And that's exactly what happened. She already lost her job. Instead of the Blaze hanging out for her and saying, hey, let's kind of see how this goes, they fucking ejected. Like, that's kind of fucked, man. I get it. Like, I agree. Employers should be able, you should have the right to do whatever they want, so long as they're not, morally harming you or something like that. Like, shit that libertarians would agree with. But like, it's kind of fucked that, like,
well, no, the evidence is pretty damning. That's why. Like, if this was way more speculatory,
but it says even in the DOJ, allegations.
But I guess my point was,
and I'm not even saying that she knew. I don't even think that's the word. Like, she probably had no fucking idea. But it's the point that she lacked the due diligence to fucking look into it. And it's the point that she accepted this money without fucking thinking, like, oh, they're offering a ridiculous $100,000 a video. Like, yeah, who does that? Like, people can't. There is no way that's normal. I'm sorry, that is not normal. That is not a normal amount of money to be offering fucking Tim Pool. Like, his content is not worth that. So I think that, like, for that aspect alone, like, even if she was completely like, just like, maybe this is sus, but like, yeah, like, what's the worst that could happen? Like, maybe she was completely unaware of the Russia Today connections. I'm going to give her that as a potential. The point is that it's still showing a lack of due diligence and also showing that you are capable of being bought for money and kind of not having integrity. It's just a lack of integrity. So I can understand why Blaze would fire her. Just from the fact that, like, if we're not even getting too, like, speculatory of, like, the details, just showing that she lacks due diligence and integrity is enough reason for me to be like, yeah, I don't want you to work for me.
I guess like my point was just,
that's
like,
fair.
Decentralized media, like, put it back in the hands of the company that's hiring them as contractors. And then if we can also just be honest about it, like, probably 80%, 70% at least of people that listen to the corporate media, they don't really care about where the sources are. They have a confirmation
I don't think,
bias that they need to be reaffirmed.
I think you would agree with this, Ben, but like, the vast majority of people do not care. They do not do their due diligence. And like, they're I listened to this one guy, Lane Norton, a lot, and he had mentioned he did a whole debunk of Paul Saladino went on Joe Rogan, and he's a big carnivore advocate. But the moral of the story was he sourced every single thing he did. He said it took him like 48 hours to source this article that he did debunking an appearance on the Joe Rogan podcast. Less than 1% of people clicked through the links to verify what he was saying to the studies. So that tells you that, and this is just like one small spectrum, but I guarantee you this applies for most other people. Like, I love reading studies. It's fucking heady. It's technical, but like, at least you're getting the truth and you're kind of seeing what's going on.
And
most
studies can be bad too.
They can, but like,
no, I'm just saying there's layers of it. So you have to go to the claims, and then you're supposed to go to the studies.
You have to go through methods.
Well, this is like references in books too. So when I read books,
when it comes to, once again, nutrition science is a little bit more simple because, like, okay, you can assess the methods and say, like, okay, well, maybe they didn't account for protein, maybe they didn't account for this, they didn't account for fiber. You can kind of disqualify pretty quickly. But when it comes to like psychological, political, you're kind of in subjective territory because, once again, we all have biases, right? My bias is to be a little bit more right wing. Rin, your bias may be a little bit more socially left, right? And I'm not trying to judge.
Progressive.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have a problem with that. Like most people who, largely agree with me and I agree with them, they would say, oh, well, Rin wants me dead. That's retarded. Rin and I are fucking tight, right? I don't give a shit. Ben, you're a Second Amendment guy. You probably lean
Anarchist.
Yeah, exactly. Ben and I are probably.
I think the whole scale is broken.
Yeah,
So.
exactly.
Am I not a
Ben
Second
and I
Amendment guy?
agree.
When did that happen?
Wait, what's my bias, Kyle?
Yeah.
Okay, Brandy, you're a minarchist. We probably agree.
And a socialist.
That's my
Something like
bias?
80, 89.
I don't think.
No, you
I don't-
admitted that you're a minarchist, and
No, I know, but I
changed my
wouldn't
mind.
even call that a bias because I
But that's your
like-
position, right?
Yeah.
That's your perspective. I changed my mind recently. I was an anarchist for the longest time. Now I consider myself like a right-wing minarchist, right? Absolute minimal government. That's my perspective now. Changed my mind. Is what it is.
So the only pushback I have, because I agree with a lot of that, Kyle, but the only pushback I have is if we put the onus of due diligence on the viewer, you've lost them.
You're correct. You're absolutely right. But guess what? That's the way it is now. You're not going to change.
But
that.
it used to not be that way. The onus used to be on the journalistic integrity, the whole verified sources. There was a whole process for that, and we lost.
Okay, what are you going to do? What is your plan to make journalists do that? That's the problem. What are you?
Well, I think now people can just say that they're like. The problem is, and this is a good thing with social media, and also a bad thing because it's like anyone can become this like influential content creator, right? But like that also doesn't mean that you have to have like journalistic integrity or that you learned anything about how to source information or how to actually like do your due diligence when coming up with a story or doing journalism. So like I think like it's like a good thing that anyone can do this and anyone can make content, but that also just means that there's going to be a lot more shitty content.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's what we have now is that people can make fucking shitty content, and if it goes viral, it goes viral. And this is kind of why, like, I don't like the idea of the Elon bucks because, like, it incentivizes people to be retards for clout.
Whoa! What the fuck is an Elon buck? Are we going
Elon
back to companies?
Okay, so if you get 5 million impressions within the course of 3 months, you can get monetized on Twitter. And what people try to do now is be as retarded or just throw out stuff to get engagement on Twitter, so that way they get to their impressions and they can make money off Twitter. I refuse to do that because
can you get US tender from?
Yes.
Twitter, yes. It is
So,
completely.
like,
so advertising money is one thing, but it's so
there are people who make thousands of dollars off of Twitter because it
sure.
So like when I was supposed to be an automotive instructor about a little over a year ago now. I had a friend who told me you should go on Twitter and blow this up and throw yourself out as a victim, essentially. I'm like, I'm not going to fucking do that. That's retarded. That's not me. I knew going into this fucking job that I may not get it because of my political beliefs. And guess what? I didn't get it because of my political beliefs. Is what it is. I'm not a fucking victim. This is 2024. If you get fucked in divorce court, it's probably because you didn't fight back. If you lose your job, it's probably because you spoke up too much. And I'm not saying it's right. It's not an endorsement. I'm saying that's the way it is. There isn't a single adult who doesn't know that. Go in with your eyes wide open and accept the fucking consequences for what the fuck they are.
I mean,
yeah.
I don't think anybody here disagrees with that.
I think the whole Elon Bucks thing, Ren, is that God, I can't get your name right. Ren, is that like basically the more engagement you get, the more money you make.
Okay, so that's less dystopian.
No, I think it's pretty fucking dystopian because
that's advertising money. It's just
kind of, but it just makes people.
Here's the
it
problem.
incentivizes bad behavior, which is why I hate it.
Yeah,
like it incentivizes people to just be as extreme as possible.
But that's continuing a trend that was happening when YouTube started. That's all. To me, what I got scared of was the Elon bucks and Bezos bucks. What you really don't want to get to is where they take the next step, where those things aren't just a transferable for U.S. tender. but instead are transferable for, oh, if you earn enough Elon bucks, you can come live in the Elon, like sanctuary, and then you can work and live. And like, so we don't want to get to a point where you have company stores where people
But
who
this-
are.
Why not?
What do you mean, why not? That was a hard, like, that was the most oppressive period of the United States where.
What do you mean?
The gold rush in California, where you go out there and you live on the company land, you get paid in company credits, and then you shop in the company store, and you're now an indentured slave.
But this is how the media has operated since its conception: is they run on fear of the public. They run on getting reaction out of people. They want people to like flock to the news, like, oh my gosh, what can I be scared of today? They don't look for good news because most news is bad news.
That didn't happen until the 24-hour news cycle.
No, I highly doubt that. I think
so there was a period of time when the 1 hour news, you would have a highlight reel, and it was sensational, but it was 1 hour of like, here's the important shit you need to know about, and that was your general kind of, and that happened until like the 70s or something. So you're right.
There was sensational news in newspapers too, like and like click. It would what would be like a newspaper clickbait, you know, like there was lots of that.
Like was going around like this many people died today, like, and people are like,
well, most people couldn't read back then.
But,
like,
it was like the criers.
The media it's a weapon of subversion. That's what it is, and like it has the ability to manipulate entire populations of people. And like it can pretty much in cases like this, like it'll steer a political discussion in favor of one of the two authoritarian regimes, which would be in this case Trump. Like these are very much so like MAGA supporters. Whereas like the same thing happens on the other side. Like, I know I kind of like dropped into your stream earlier, Kyle, when we talked about TikTok a little bit. Like a lot of the stuff coming off of TikTok is more left-wing propaganda that's promoting Kamala Harris. And I think that both of these are basically like TikTok, Twitter, they're kind of like favoring their own authoritarian regime at the end of the day, and they're basically just tools of subversion.
I agree. The only part that I would disagree with you with is that it's China specifically pushing that, because I think it's mostly algorithms are designed to give you what you want or give you what you engage with, right? We see this on Twitter. So like I get largely right-wing and some left-wing accounts who bash Trump because I'm not afraid to go out there and criticize Trump, because like I want, out of all the people who could win the election, I want Trump to win. But like, I'm the most fierce critic of Trump because his supporters are the people that are closest to me and that I love the most dear. So I engage with that because I know I have influence within that circle. If I bash Democrats,
are you paid by the Russians?
I wish. Listen, if I was, once again, I will not announce it, but there will be.
We'd have a polar bear on his mic instead of a shark too. Probably.
No. The shark's not leaving. I would have a shark in my house. Just so I
think Kyle gives like way too much, I don't know, grace to other countries and what they would, and like the concept of ideological subversion, especially in regards to the fact that like these are Lenin-based like countries, like their roots were based in Leninism.
Who do you think has a tighter control over their media?
What?
Who do you think has a tighter control over their media?
China,
in their own country, right?
China.
Do you think?
China.
Do you think America controls their own media more, or China controls the American media more?
I mean, I think that, to be fair.
Come on.
Do you not? No. Because
come on.
Listen. No, what I was gonna say is that I think that we do live in a like free market of ideas, to the point like. I think that like we are allowed to have a lot of different information come in, which is why we can be ideologically subverted by other countries.
Okay, because, now do Israel.
Now do Israel. Now do Israel.
Yes, but, they do too. Like this is what I'm saying. It's because we are allowed, like we have the First Amendment. Like that's why.
Okay, so the problem is that now my problem when people talk about China is that they refuse to acknowledge the fact that since 2011, With the Barack Obama administration, they pivoted over from terror wars to the war on China, right? So you absolutely have to, and nobody is, you have to be very, 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 very fucking skeptical of everything you hear about China.
No, I don't care about any, like, because
hold on,
I'm talking about before Obama.
Hold on. So you have to be extremely skeptical of everything you hear about China and everything you hear from China, because the problem is that they're gearing up for a war with China. The Biden administration, the Trump administration, everybody agrees we want to fight a war with China. So therefore, all the information you're getting is slowly drip fed to you, so that way you believe the propaganda and you believe that, well, maybe we need to arm Taiwan. Maybe they are committing genocide against the Uyghurs. Nobody stops and questions the propaganda they're fed about China. But Russia, we believe that.
This is
China,
literally just
wait.
the same thing I just said, where media is a weapon of subversion.
Exactly.
But how do you know that you're not also subverted? Like,
Because
I look into the stuff.
So do I. You think I don't?
Sides. You've talked to people from China. How many people have you talked to from China?
It's not. Oh my God. Are you going to say that?
Nobody can avoid that there's foreign influence everywhere.
Once again, I am about 1% concerned of Chinese influence. I'm about 99% concerned over Israeli influence.
Okay, but that couldn't be subversion as well. It's only
it is.
No, but what I'm saying is that
the
Israel's the only one doing it, and the other countries.
No, I've never said that. I've never.
But that's the only one that you're worried about.
I'm worried about them because they spend. Okay, first of all, we've sent more money to them than any other country in the entire world. They dump millions into our elections to make sure that their preferred candidates win, right? It's not like China does this. They don't.
Yeah, but that's a return loop on the CIA wanting the Israeli state to continue to do its thing. Because
sure, yeah, no, I agree with that. But the problem is China isn't sitting here trying to subvert our entire country, right? They don't have the fucking infrastructure for this. They don't. Despite what you think, China actually has respect for the U.S. Despite what people think, they do.
Oh,
you can laugh about this.
My fucking God.
Dude, Kyle's getting paid by the Chinese.
No.
I wish.
No, because this is just so fucking funny. Like,
China is a fucking boogeyman. This is what you've been propagandized to believe.
No, it's because I've actually read Lenin and Mao, and I know where the fucking ideology comes from.
Okay,
like, that's
Lenin
what pisses me off. I used to be a communist.
They died years. They died years.
Where do you think the ideology comes from? Oh, okay, all right.
Who's in charge now? Who's in charge now?
It's still Leninism. It's still communism.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, China.
Oh, you were gonna.
China's probably more capitalist than the U.S.
Okay. All right. I gotta do a thing because you are completely fucking
more
wrong.
Capitalist in the U.S. at this fucking point.
No, it's actually not.
We go across the fucking world exporting bombs and murder. China goes in with a fucking briefcase. I don't agree with either one. But guess what? If someone came to me with a briefcase,
China has a state-directed market economy with central planning, and Russia actually does too. So anyone that says that Russia is also
more private fucking businesses over in China than there are here in the U.S.
There's more what?
There's also 3 times as many people.
And do you understand that their private businesses are also publicly owned? Like, they have, like, the structure of how their businesses are owned are completely fucking different than how we are.
But guess what? China is still probably more capitalist than
they're
the US
not.
At this point. Yes,
they're not.
Because they moved away from communism. Because you know what? Communism sucks.
How's my favorite question?
Guess what happens? A whole bunch of fucking people die and people starve, and they realize, oh, you know what? If we're friendly with people, we trade, and we're capitalist. People tend to do a little bit better.
No, the reason why they shifted.
At this point.
No, well, what I'm going to say is that the reason why they shifted is because that is actually like a playbook by Lenin. Hold on, where it says that you have to implement capitalist ideas before you can actually make the entire world communist. The whole point is that you can't just not engage in capitalism. Like,
that's an interesting. Brandy, you had me for a bit. On that one.
Hold on.
But
I can find it.
Ben, the only way to win is to not play. That's the only way to avoid the subversion.
Hey, that's it. But here's the thing: is like this whole idea of like media being used as a weapon of subversion. And Brandy mentioned ideological subversion, and she mentioned Yuri Bezmenov. I think that like the idea of like having foreign influences, like this ties right into that. Because he he warned against the Soviet Union using these kind of long-term strategies of creating propaganda and manipulating the media and academia.
Hold, please.
Has happened for decades in America through the school system, through colleges, which has been manipulated for decades. But
that state capitalism would be a step forward as compared with the present state of affairs in our Soviet Republic. If in approximately 6 months' time state capitalism became established in our republic, this would be a great success and a sure guarantee that within a year socialism would have gained a permanent firm hold and will have become invincible in our country. The Tax in Kind is what is from this book. He argued that state capitalism was a necessary phase of economic development to stabilize the economy. That is Lenin. And he like goes into this multiple times in that particular book, actually.
So
we're not afraid of concessions. We must study the practical experience of the whole world. We must learn from the capitalists.
Founding philosophy, but you are not.
No, hold on. Yeah, I can find them too. So hold on. And what was his name? The Chinese guy. That was one of the ones that kind of changed from command economy to socialist market economy. He said it doesn't matter whether a cat is black or white as long as it catches mice, right? So that's like basically the point is it's still communist. They still have state-owned enterprises. Both Russia and both China do.
And we
what?
don't. And we
the
don't
only we don't have nearly as much as China and Russia. So to even make an argument that we are more communist than them is delusional. Absolutely delusional. Because what, we have the post office?
No.
The Amtrak? Like, what do you mean?
And how fucking government is so intertwined with everything. There's regulations on everything.
Yeah, regulations is completely different than state-owned enterprise.
Is it?
Yes, it is. It is.
No, because at a certain point when government
state-owned
has
sectors
artificially imposed so many sanctions and restrictions.
I did not know we were going to be fighting about communism today.
I'm just saying.
I'm sorry. I think that this is delusional, but
no, I don't think it is at all.
I think so. To me, right. So, as the person who knows none of this, right? To me, my understanding is Russian people want what China's got going on, but so does the U.S. Right? Like, as capitalists, we like seeing the rise of capitalism in China. There's a whole we have like a terrible symbiotic relationship with China. And
I don't know that it's terrible, but
terrible as in like we're very intertwined, right? Like they need us to stay succeeding and stable because they're fucking entwined with us.
To maybe to your point, but we export about $9 billion in food to China every single year.
Yes, they cannot maintain their
could not maintain their population on,
and we cannot maintain our lifestyle without that.
I agree with both of those points.
Hold on.
You don't agree with that?
Hold on.
No, I said I do agree with both of those points, but there's still a state-directed market economy. They're communists.
Sure.
So.
You ask, who's going to survive longer? The people who don't eat, or the people who don't have smartphones?
Okay, so here's the follow-up question.
Yeah.
Who fucking buckles down and deals with it, and who riots and kills themselves in each of those circumstances?
Probably,
right?
For China would probably riot and kill themselves first.
What? So, I think that they're way more prepared.
Okay, so the one-child policy, and they spend about, in their military, I think it's about 40% of their time for indoctrination purposes.
Are we agreeing with ourselves? I think that we're saying that China would like fucking do some horrible shit and then reorganize itself.
I don't know that it reorganized itself. Okay, so like the projections are for China's population to not collapse, but to reduce by about half in about 10 years, right? Because the one-child policy, and like a lot of people are leaving China because they don't see it as like necessarily a favorable place the long term. Right?
Yeah, I don't think they're at a stable population. Correct.
Exactly. Right now, it looks really good because once again, they're starting to implement a lot of capitalist ideals more than we are here at home. But how sustainable is that with, once again, demographics and the way their country works.
I think that their system's going to last longer than our system.
Really?
I don't know.
I do
Because so China does not have the military that we have.
They have a much bigger military. They just don't have
their stuff looks nice, but they can't project force.
They have way more numbers, but that's all they have.
But they
exactly.
They have
numbers, but they
there's so much speculation. But like what? So like, all right. So maybe China collapses, maybe it doesn't. Like that's not we. What the fuck can we say in any knowable way? Because there's pivots, right? Like there's a whole kinds of things. Yeah. So to me, there's an assumption like what are we talking about? What are we arguing about? Right?
I'm going to argue and bring it right back into the conversation that China doesn't have as many people trying to subvert their politics as the United States, and that's why the United States
their own politics or our politics,
other countries' politics. So no one's trying to subvert China's politics. Everyone's trying to subvert ours.
Yes,
and that is why China is going to last a lot longer.
So one of the largest right-wing people is Steve Bannon, right? Steve Bannon and Miles Guo attempted to
pays me every week.
Yeah, they attempted to overthrow the Chinese government by unleashing what was called the new federal state of China, right? Now, once again,
Americans did this.
Yeah, Steve Bannon and Miles Guo did this. Yes. So yes, that is a perfect example of them trying to overthrow that. And who else? Steve Bannon called for regime change. Joe Biden and both Donald Trump have pretty much said like, hey, we will defend Taiwan in the event of a, invasion on Taiwan or attack on the Taiwanese islands. And really, like, this is a large failing of the right wing, is that they have so many pocket aces that they refuse to play, because the Biden administration has been much, 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 much more hawkish on China than Trump was. Kamala Harris went over to the Philippines to give them arms guarantees and told them, hey, if you fuck around on Second Thomas Shoal or all these reefs that are disputed between the Philippines and China, we will go to war with China over some disputed reefs. Biden has continued to sail more warships through the Taiwan Strait, spy planes off the coast of China, announcing more sanctions, ramping up the sanctions that Trump had on the steel tariffs.
It's only been a few years since we had the Chinese spy balloon.
Yeah, the fucking spy balloon that even our own State Department said it was a weather balloon. The State Department that's saying, hey, Biden's entire administration has said, hey, our goal is war with China, war with China, war with China. Lloyd Austin, Jake Sullivan, Anthony Blinken, all of them has said, our goal is war with China, and if we fail at war with China, then we're going to fight them the best we can.
But can't you disagree with that and also understand that, like, China is also not the good guy here? Like, I think that this is the problem, is that no, but like, and that I think that they actually do, 100. I think TikTok is probably one of the most brilliant psyops ever.
Like, you're out of your mind.
I think it is. No, are you kidding? Like that, the way that the algorithm
is Singaporean.
So
the owner is Singaporean. There are so many Americans that work for TikTok. The fact is, they're showing us what we want to see. They're showing us what we want to see.
So
the problem isn't China. The problem.
But you guys are arguing about this. You guys are arguing. So I agree with that, Kyle. So you guys are arguing about the source, but no one's arguing that TikTok is a problem, right? And media manipulation, whether it be
China will not go, or the TikTok ain't going away. Everybody's going to fight you tooth and nail on this.
I'm not trying to get rid of TikTok.
I'm not either.
TikTok, it has connections to the CCP through its parent company BitDance, which is headquarters in Beijing. As a Chinese company, BitDance is subject to what?
You guys can't let go. Why? Of the fact that, like, origins of this don't matter, right?
Like, I mean, it kind of does.
Well, like, it doesn't.
Yes, because you're saying that it's impossible for TikTok to be a psyop.
There's so many people that are American, and the ByteDance has been completely willing to work with the American government.
So
what?
Ben,
the way I'm falling for the American government fucking propaganda.
Oh my god!
You guys are missing.
You were fucking propagandizing. You don't want to admit it.
Okay.
I mean, where things get paid does kind of matter. That's kind of the point of this conversation.
Sure, but there's so many people that work in America that are paid by ByteDance. Do you really think they would fuck over people?
Twitter is owned by Elon, who is like. He's not even shy about just.
I think TikTok's. I think Twitter's sus too. And Twitter isn't owned by Chinese propaganda, but I also think there's like malicious intentions a lot of times in how fucking Twitter operates, and I don't really understand what they are. But that doesn't mean that TikTok doesn't have Chinese fucking like CCP connections, because it does. Why deny that?
Do you know how many fucking people will share a video from TikTok that is allegedly talking about the atrocities committed by the Chinese government? There's so many boomers that will be the first to share a TikTok video saying about all the atrocities committed by the Chinese. Then you aren't on Facebook enough.
Well, I'm not on Facebook.
There's so many people that will share videos. The Chinese government has a social credit system. They're committing genocide against the Uyghurs. They're harvesting organs, which none of that is true. Not a single one of those claims are fucking true.
The main concern too is that BitDance is subject to Chinese law that requires companies to provide data to the government upon request, which raises concerns. To
your point. They did this, right? There was one situation where the people that worked at ByteDance leaked the information to the government. They were fired. They comply every single time.
Yeah.
This happened once. This is such propaganda that you've fallen completely for.
I gotta say, so the whole point of ideological subversion in the media is to essentially destabilize and split people, right?
Yes.
Well, like there's never been a better time to split in an already split American political system, as it is. It is the most polarized that it has been in my entire life.
In your entire life, I was going to say, because that's not historically accurate.
Government doing that.
So,
if anything,
sure, but don't you think
what country has 38 states? 38 states. There are speech laws for this one country. It's not China. It's not Russia.
Dude, I'm not even.
I know you're not. I know
it's Israel. But here's the thing: Israel does just as much subversion through these same entities, Twitter and TikTok.
Way more,
right? But Kyle, your argument was just that, why more doesn't matter, right? If it's happening. So to me, this is really interesting hearing you guys argue about all this. And all I can think of is, was the virus made in a lab or did it happen for real? And then people get caught up in blaming, the whole argument is, where did the virus come from? And no one's talking about the fucking problem of the virus.
And no one talked about Fort Detrick either, which was in Maryland.
The book that I've been reading, Yuri Bezmenov. Well, I've already finished it, but
Brandon, we're right back to where
all these people who read Yuri Bezmenov always come off as fucking China hawks, and they're usually wrong, so that's okay.
I just read him last week, and it was on a whim, and I'm not a China hawk. Did I say anything about going to war with China?
No. I'm just saying
I 100% am very critical of both China and Russia, because they are still communists, whether you want to believe it or not. But anyway, all warfare is based primarily on the deception of an enemy. Fighting on a battlefield is the most primitive way of making war. There is no art higher than to destroy your enemy without a fight by subverting anything of value in the enemy's country. The one thing that I thought was interesting was the principle of subversion. So, cover with ridicule all of the valid traditions in your opponent's country. Implicate their leaders in criminal affairs and turn them over to the scorn of their populace at the right time. Disrupt the work of their government by every means. Do not shun the aid of the lowest and most despicable individuals of your enemy's country. Spread disunity and dispute among the citizens. Turn the young against the old. Be generous with promises and rewards to collaborators and accomplices.
Also, it's the Communist Manifesto,
right? But so, this is all tactics that countries have employed. I don't. So again, I fail to understand. Was this happening when the Civil War broke out in the U.S.?
Yes.
Probably. I actually don't know.
It was absolutely. Abraham Lincoln used the shit out of this.
Right, but that's not a foreign enemy. That's the
it was because the country was split in half. So he was generating a lot of his support from another half of the country, and it was not a centralized country at that point as well.
Right. I hear the argument you're making, but that's not the spirit of what I'm talking about.
Sure, it's a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah, I got you. But like for instance, the Revolutionary War against England was much more media influence. You know what I mean? Like there was a lot of narrative spinning on our half against, because the English population not wanting to like fund the war across the ocean was much bigger in our favor. So I know that that's happening. That's a big part of that. But we, like, you know, you were talking about how things are the most divisive. It's like they have been more divisive in the past, and I don't think this was the like we did it to ourselves. It happened organically.
Exactly.
As far as I can tell, it happened organically. And so you can get the ball rolling, or it can happen on its own. And what's the difference? Like, why does it matter who started it or not?
This is why I say Trump
well, I think you should be aware of it.
Yeah, this is why I think Trump is honestly a deep state asset, because in 2016, what had to happen? People weren't going to accept Hillary Clinton, but Trump won, and people could say, "Oh, he wasn't supposed to win, but he did." Okay, so regardless of whether he should have won or not, he did. Right? 2020 happens. If it was Hillary Clinton in the White House, people would have lost their goddamn minds. But it's my guy. I'll chill out. You know what? He's right. Maybe we should go get vaccinated. I won't go further than that, because I know that YouTube rules are fucking weird. 2020 comes around, Biden wins, and basically Trump bails, and all the shit that he fucked up in 2020 is now on the leftist Democrat candidate, right? And the lefties are going to support who they're going to support no matter what. All right. 2024 comes around now, and it looks like Trump's going to win. They had assassination attempt, which I do think was like a genuine thing, but he's favored to win. Kamala Harris is a fucking retard. There's too many coincidences for me to constantly say, "Oh, well, he was tricked. It was this, it was that, it was this, it was that."
I don't know what you're saying.
Basically, the point is, you didn't need a foreign country to come in and divide us. It was already like this. This is the purpose of the system, is to uphold the system. People still have faith, because guess what? Everybody that said 2020 was stolen are still going to go vote.
Well, according to Yuri Bezmenov, they started dividing us in the 80s. Like this already started like decades ago, right?
Who is that? Before that?
Well, I mean, he would have said the KGB, right? The 4 stages of subversion: demoralization, destabilization, crisis, and normalization.
Were we not divided in the 70s?
Exactly.
I'm sure. I'm not. And that's the thing, though. When did it get worse? When is it better? I don't really know. Maybe this has been going on before that. I have no fucking idea. I think he said, well, because he talks shit about the 60s and like the boomers. So I don't know. I don't really know when the country became less unified at first, but I would definitely say that it is the most ununified I've ever seen it in my lifetime. Would you not agree?
I think that's by design.
And I don't think that implies that like it was extremely unified in like the 60s, because I think that the 60s it was kind of a hot mess too, with like Vietnam War. There was a lot of shit going on. People were very upset, and he mentions the 60s in this book. But this part I thought was interesting. Chronic instability breeds radicalism as a means of solving problems. Radicalism is the precondition of a power struggle, which may and has often results in the violent enforcement or replacement of power structures. If the situation deteriorates badly, this replacement takes ugly forms of internal civil war or revolution, or invasion of a friendly and fraternal neighbor. Finally ends up in the traditional way, namely state control. Depending on maturity of a nation and the amount or absence of common sense, this control will manifest itself in the creation of a closed society, the opposite of what we had in the beginning. Borders closed, censorship of media is established, irritants and enemies of the state are executed, etc. Obviously, he's talking about what happened in the Soviet Union, so I don't know. And the thing is that I see connection to what he talks about here in like this concept of like demoralization and in what I see in social media all the time.
If you're ambiguous enough, you could always be right.
What?
If you're ambiguous enough, you can always be right.
What do you mean by that?
If you just zoom out enough and throw enough shit at the wall, you'll be right. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying if you lay out some there's so many container words and a lot of stuff where if you just loosely say shit, eventually people are going to find their own meaning to it and say, yeah, that's exactly what's happening.
It's not really loosely said. It's like it's a book. You could read it.
But again, you can have factors like there's like I believe that Russia is trying to do things. I think China is trying to do things. I'm sure there's fucking any country that can put together a troll farm is trying to throw their hat into the ring. The problem is, there's no at what point are we what are we trying to do about it? Right? Like I don't understand why we bicker and argue about which flavor of conspiracy theory feels the best for who's trying to manipulate who, right? Like because there's Americans who are probably also better at manipulating the fucking populace as much as these countries, and they're all fucking I just love the image of everybody on Reddit and everybody on Facebook. It's just a bunch of fucking trolls arguing with fucking 70-year-old people, and and yet it sways political opinion because people see these discussions, and then the pundits, the influencers, the people talking about this stuff pull those fucking conversations up and then talk about them, and then they shape the opinion. Where I don't think people have had some sort of autonomy or some sort of oh, everything's good. It's generally hey, I think we should go to war, or oh, I think we should do these ideas. Most people care about a small number of things, and you're just gonna try to tie everything together to grab as many things that people want to care about. And the American politics is just a fucking evolution of what do people care about, and what oh, this is important to us and this is important to them.
Okay, so the only pushback I'd provide there is that I think it's generally elites who kind of inform people, or inform might not be the right word. Yeah, they generally steer people in the right direction. Everybody
wouldn't necessarily right. They point them in the direction they want.
Sure. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. So, when people say right wingers are anti-war, it's not true.
Wait,
but it's
where
because
did that opinion come from?
I'll get there. I'll get there. I'll get there. Trump had came out and said that Bush allowed us into Iraq, which was right. That doesn't mean they're anti-war. They just heard Trump say some anti-war stuff that was right, and they went along with it. But though when he bombed Syria, all of them celebrated it. But the point is that generally it's kind of the elites that, I hate to say it, but it's kind of socially engineer people to believe and regurgitate narratives that they
Trump is really the only isolationist candidate we've seen in a long time. Right and left.
That one, yeah. Well, no. I don't know about that because a lot of
he's very isolationist. That's his whole
sure. Well, no. What I mean is that candidates will typically run a very anti-war platform, but then as soon as they get in, they kind of throw it away. And Trump is no exception to this.
Well, that's what I mean. So I'm not saying anti-war, but I'm saying an actual isolationist is going to be more in line with an anti-war platform than a globalist. A globalist will go to war to defend the global hegemony of America.
Yeah, okay, but Obama ran in 2008 on being anti-war and saying we're going to end all these wars, we're going to end Guantanamo Bay. But then ultimately, both Trump and Obama both failed on their promises. But it sounded good. And then even Biden campaigned on ending the war in Yemen, but he never did.
So this is the sort of thing, right? This is where it gets really fascinating, and why I have no idea why the fuck we're talking about any of this, right? So I believe Obama wanted to do those things, right? I love watching the transition of Obama full of promise, and then Obama getting handed the folder by the CIA, and they're oh, here's all the shit you need to know about. And then it's oh,
here's the other angle of the JFK assassination.
We're gonna leave Guantanamo open for reasons I can't tell you. Don't worry about it. It's just I don't know so much shit about what's going on, and I don't want to say that there's so much ridiculous shit moving on behind the scenes, but Trump was trying to he wanted to close the walls, right? Which would lead to us having influence or less influence across the globe, which would lead to all that sort of thing. But likely it's less war.
Well, okay, what do you mean by close the walls?
So he was
still more specific.
He didn't want us to have base presences across the globe. He didn't want us to be spending as much money. The United States basically.
I don't know that I agree with that, but go ahead.
He was the most isolationist in terms of a candidate. I'm not saying it was fully oh, we're going to completely retract from the thing.
Okay, yeah.
But the U.S. subsidizes global policing, right? We pay more in our military to maintain, kind of like the global peace that
Okay,
we see.
but like I don't think Trump ever wanted to really reduce. Maybe he said that, but like now his whole campaign is about let's
I'm talking
Europe.
about I am talking about 2016 Trump.
Okay, yeah, 2016 is maybe fair enough, but like now he basically went back on all that and said like, hey, Europe should pay their fair share for NATO, which is completely opposite of what he ran on in 2016.
Yeah, agree.
Europe should pay their fair share. He literally said we were never going to leave Bagram because Bagram eventually became occupied by China. So we were never going to leave. We were going to have an indefinite occupation of Iraq or of Afghanistan, just maintaining that base. And then like people say, oh, there were no wars, which technically true, but at the same time, he escalated all the drone wars, killed more civilians than Obama did in his 4 years than Obama did in 8 years. Escalated all the wars. Every single time he tried to withdraw, his generals pushed back on him, which they do to every president. And Trump caved and said, all right, fuck it, escalate. So pretty much every single time that it came to do something that was meaningfully isolationist or anti-war, he folded and said, fuck it, do what you want to do. Kill more people, bring more troops over there. And then whenever it came time to bring them back, he took credit for it. But ultimately, every single time it was like, hey, we sent troops over here, but as soon as we bring them back, hey, look, I'm an anti-war candidate because I brought these troops back that I put in.
I do think that the military complex is a big part of like the United States capitalistic commercial.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's really one of those things where it's really hard to be like, hey,
it's an incentive.
How are you going to do business if the shipping lanes don't work? Because we're the reason that happens, right? Like
right.
So go ahead, Ben.
I was gonna say I might actually like need to borrow Brandy's tinfoil hat that she has over there.
do it.
I'm not actually gonna put it on.
Okay, well, Brandy, wear it for Ben in spirit, please.
For me. This all is just kind of, I don't know, outside looking in, kind of 1984, super dystopian, very skeptical, conspiratorial type mindset right now. But all the stuff that I'm seeing in terms of subversion coming from the left and from the right in terms of propaganda, to me, it all seems to point towards one single like entity, which is they're trying to like push one form of government, which is probably why we appear so united as a country, but this is literally a page right out of the Communist Manifesto. Like it literally is.
I'm sorry. I think you are absolutely insane if you think that it's China infiltrating the U.S.
Well, okay. Can I ask a different question? Can I just ask a different question? Yeah. Kyle, do you believe that?
Hold on, Ben. You said all of them?
All of them. So I'm talking about Israel. I'm talking about Russia. I'm talking about all of them because I'm talking about both left wing and right wing propaganda coming in, subverting our media, subverting us, and all of this stuff. And like I said, it's very conspiratorial. I understand, but this is literally pointing us in one direction. And to me, it looks a lot like a page right out of Communist Manifesto, where they're literally talking about the struggle between the bourgeoisie and the the proletariat, and like the working class and the capitalist class or whatever. That's what we've got.
My biggest pushback on that is why is there unanimous consent amongst Republicans, even the Trump Republicans and Democrats, on going to war with China? There is like when you look at the funding for Taiwan. Hold on. Shh, woman. When you look at the votes for who's sending shit off. When you're looking at the votes for who wants to send money over to arm Taiwan, which China has stated is a red flag, every single one of them vote for it. Every single one. Same with Israel. They vote for it. If we were to be ideologically and possessed by China, why are we trying to start a war with them? Why are we explicitly doing that since 2011? And why do we vote to send money to a country that we formally recognized back in the 70s is China? Taiwan is part of China, right? That is the one China policy, is that Taiwan is part of China. Okay, why are we deviating from that if they're trying to subvert us? Why are we saying, hey, if you fuck around in those reefs over there by the Philippines, we will fuck you up. If you go around Australia, we have nukes down there. If you go around South Korea, we have nukes over there. The largest military buildup since World War II is pointed at China, and you're telling me that China's subverting us? Give me a fucking break.
What? Because they can't do anything else. Obviously, that wouldn't you? Wouldn't you if you were China?
Why would we fight a war with someone who's subverting us? That's my question.
That's exactly.
Dude, well,
there's. I think that why we would fight a war with China, or it would. Why we would fight a war with China more so probably has to do with like economic ideas here,
okay,
and so you're
do you want riots here? If you want riots here, you say fuck the chips, and you want even at that. Even the fucking top Trump administration officials said, hey, we'll just bomb those factories in Taiwan if we go to war with China, right? So clearly it's not about the chips. It's about U.S. hegemony. Biden isn't about fucking China. Biden is about the fucking Biden crime family. Whatever fucking puts them on top is what puts them on top. Fuck everybody else. And guess what? The U.S. is good for fucking business. China ain't.
When I say everyone, I mean, dude, let's count Argentina and Czechoslovakia. Like, they'd be stupid to not try to intervene in American politics and get something out of it. So, you know, like I'm literally mean everyone. This is literally
I just think the military stance when it comes to China. If you really think that China's subverting us, they're doing the worst job ever. Because every single military industrial complex figure has said, we want war with China, and if we fail,
I have never heard anybody talk about war with China
because you don't pay attention.
Only the right wing. It really is only the right wing. That it's
the left wing too. The left wing talks about it too. Joe Biden has repeated it. All repeated. Jake Sullivan, Lloyd Austin, Anthony Blinken have all said our explicit goal is war with China.
If I Google that, I'll find quotes. I'll quote if I Google.
If you go to antiwar.com and look up China, if you listen to Dave DeCamp's show every single day,
no. I don't want to hear about people's names I don't know. I want to go to news outlets that will be like, this is a quote.
If you look up Anthony Blinken, China, I guarantee you're going to find stuff where he is calling for war with China. If you look up Lloyd Austin, same deal. If you look up all the project, or what is it?
Where can I get
Present Danger?
The
Committee for Present Danger China, which is all right wing. Frank Gaffney, Steve Bannon. These people are calling for war with China. It is both sides. That is the fucking problem, is that nobody fucking talks about this. And this is the explicit goal. If you look in 2011, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton decided 2011 we're pivoting over with a pivot to Asia. 2011, they decided we're no longer fighting terror wars. We're going to shift to great power struggles. And that is against China. They declare, and every single 4 years they do the national defense strategies, and they just redid it. I think in 2022. Number 1, China. Number 2, Russia. Number 3 is Iran.
Right, that makes sense.
National defense strategies.
Seriously, can I just ask you a question? Do you not believe that there are like dangerous ideologies and dangerous ideas?
Sure, but
you don't believe that like those ideas could actually be more like dangerous than even physical force. Like, do you think an idea can actually, be that dangerous?
Sure, I think the ideas can, but
so what if we are like as you said, like we're preparing to go to war with China, or like this right? Wouldn't they subvert us because of that and trying to actually break down things in the United States?
I'm not following this at all.
Why?
If the goal was ideological subversion, wouldn't you not want to go to war and nuclear?
Well, I don't think that we are going to go to war with them. I actually think you're wrong. Okay, I don't think we're going to war with China anytime soon.
Brandy, you would have to admit I am wholeheartedly ignorant of every single military document that's been put out in the last fucking 13 years. Admit that, because that's what you're admitting right now.
I gotta say, I will say, I know there's a lot of propaganda about this. I don't think that China is actively trying to have a military war with us.
No, China isn't, but we are trying to go to war.
maybe, but
no, it's not maybe. No, Ben, I'm sorry, we can't disagree on this. It is.
I don't think we do.
No. If you look at the national defense strategies, which they publish every 4 fucking years, they say this.
Yeah,
that you cannot.
I don't deny that at all.
This is a fact.
I know
Brady's
it. I know
denying
that's 100% a
Okay,
fact.
yeah, go ahead.
I have no. I don't disagree with you at
I'm
all.
skeptical of it being a fact. I'm going to
pull this up right now.
Yeah, all right. I'm open to it. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying it would be surprising to me for Biden to have said we want to go to war with China.
He
for
said
Obama.
the agreement that we made is to defend Taiwan.
Okay, see,
Well,
that's
They
what
walked-
I was asking if there's
yeah.
couched
They
language
walked
that
it
says
back,
we're going to be
right?
tough on China.
They walked it back a couple times, but then eventually they said the statements stand for themselves.
But the reason why is because Taiwan is a huge player for us economically. Like, can you not see the economic connections here on like a strategic standpoint?
But it's because China's an economic competitor. Here, I pulled it up. November 30th, 2022. Go ahead. The Department of Defense has issued a 2022 National Defense Strategy. NDS outlines the department's path forward to help protect the American people, promote global security, seize new strategic opportunities, and realize and defend our democratic values. The NDS sets forth how the U.S. military will meet growing threats to vital U.S. national security interests and to a stable and open international system. It directs the department to act urgently, sustain U.S. and strengthen U.S. deterrence with the People's Republic of China pacing challenge. Every single time they renew the NDS, they certify that China is the number one enemy. I'm not bullshitting you.
So wait, but Kyle, this isn't the stated goal is to go to war with China. This is the stated goal is China is our largest economic and military threat, which
but if you ask Lloyd Austin,
I don't know who Lloyd Austin is.
Lloyd Austin is a Secretary of Defense. Jake Sullivan is the head of the State Department.
He was a life.
Anthony Blinken is the I forget what.
So again, what I'm saying is
we're talking about the people who lead the White House because everybody admits Biden doesn't run the White House. It's Jake Sullivan, it's Anthony Blinken, and you know what their goals are?
And
war with China.
And Lloyd Austin is a 20-plus year board veteran with Raytheon, who makes laser-guided missiles, as we all know.
Exactly.
Second he was put into Department of Defense, basically tripled his portfolio by selling a bunch of missiles to Chile through Raytheon. And this is like he has his own interests in mind, but like he is one of the people who has been consistent about saying China is our number one enemy. So shouldn't be surprised to anybody that it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that like this is the information that our president's repeating, that our media is repeating on that level. And I mean it does tie together, like, you know, it's part of this too. Once you hear something enough, it becomes fact in the public eye. That's literally, like I just said, out of the Communist Manifesto. This is like this is a page right out of it.
I'm calling it. You guys can keep talking, and I would love for you guys to keep arguing about this for 2 more hours. I'm tapping out.
No, I'm gonna. It's fine. We're gonna end anyway. We're ending anyway.
I'm glad I could win the argument. Just saying.
I don't think that's a win.
It is.
The only winner is me for not participating in any of this.
Yeah, you know what? Okay, yeah, maybe we'll say Ren is the winner.
Well, because I would even argue with Ben. It's not the Communist Manifesto,
dude. I have learned
a lot of other things,
nothing. But I am dumber for having done this episode.
You were a winner just by not knowing who Dave Rubin and Tim Pool is walking into this conversation.
Yes, dude, and I'm going to walk out of this conversation not knowing who those people are. That went fucking right past. I was like, I don't need that.
I mean, yeah, this kind of went in a direction that wasn't supposed to. I lost the wheels. I lost control of the ship, but you know. All right, Rin, give your wait, do you got no?
Nah, I got nothing.
Kyle, do your thing.
ColinCrown.com and Liberty and Health, and Post Zero. I'll have a Sunday coffee podcast out for In Liberty and Health, and then I'll be on Post Zero this Sunday, and yeah, I think that's all I got. 5 till midnight on Monday as well. And I love you guys dearly, as heated as arguments may get. You know, I always enjoy this shit.
Yeah, there was some fun here. I enjoyed.
Ben?
Watching you guys yell at each other was hilarious.
Yeah, I do the Shut the Punk Up show twice a week. I just did one with Spike Cohen last night. Sunday I've got Alex Bernardo from the Libertarian Christian Institute. And then next Wednesday's 9/11. I've got Diego Rivera from Bring Our Troops Home and Defend the Guard coming on my show, talking about 9/11, the wars overseas, bringing our troops home. And then if you would like to donate to Kyle's wig fund, I'm sure that you can get in touch with him.
I don't need a wig fund. I'm perfectly fine to get involved at this point.
All right, y'all. GG's. Thank you for hanging out for this tumultuous episode. Bye.